Apple is not just one of the biggest tech companies in the world, but also famous for its cutting-edge industrial design and the unique and premium experiences it has brought to its customers. Over the years, Apple has accumulated millions, if not billions, of fans worldwide. It is no surprise that they are currently worth $1 trillion and can boast of their most iconic product, the iPhone, which revolutionizes the entire mobile industry. And you're probably watching this on an Apple device right now. Well, funny as it may seem, the trillion-dollar company has actually manufactured some horrible products in the past. Welcome to Daily Dosage, and today we bring you 11 horrible products that Apple made. Apple III. The first of these products is the Apple III. The Apple III was meant to be a successor to the much-beloved Apple II, but did not live up to expectations. This was Apple's first original product, and it cost the company incalculable amounts in research, development, and promotion, according to Steve Jobs. It was also the company's first market failure. The problems with the device ranged from its build to its marketing. It is reported that the marketing team kept pressuring the development team to have the product finished as soon as possible in order to tackle a perceived decline in Apple II sales. Considering the fact that the Apple III was coming with some new advancements, such as a fanless build, there was not enough time to properly develop and test the product. You might probably be wondering why a fanless machine will be a thing. Well, Steve Jobs wanted the machine to be as silent as possible, and you can guess what happened when the products were shipped out. Yes, you guessed right, the machines overheated, and in a way that will make the Galaxy Note 7 explosions seem like child's play. The overheating caused the integrated circuits to pop from their sockets and also created poor contact between the motherboard and the memory board. Also, the real-time clock didn't work, and guess what Apple's technical note was? Apple told the consumers facing these problems with the machine to lift it up 2 inches and drop it. This, according to them, will set the circuits in place. Of course, no consumer wanted to have to deal with this. This was not acceptable for a product that originally cost $4,340. The expectations and hype for the product quickly fizzled out. The situation was so bad that 14,000 of the first units produced were recalled. Apple tried to correct this by introducing the Apple III Plus, which had almost everything going for it. Yet people were not ready to sail that boat anymore. Within 2 years, the Apple III Plus was taken off the market, and the original device followed 2 years after the Plus went off. Apple Lisa. Second on our list is the Apple Lisa computer, which was introduced in January 1983. The name of this machine might sound quite different from all the others you'll see on this list, and rightly so, because it was named after Steve Jobs' daughter. The project was started in the year she was born and marketed as a business computer. It came with a graphical user interface, one of the first of its kind, and was expected to do well on the market. The team, however, was met with great disappointment when most businesses favored the competition's product, IBM, at the expense of Apple. The computer shipped at a cost of $9,995 US. It was criticized as being too expensive, and this was a turnoff for many businesses. If we were to price it today, considering inflation, it will cost a whopping $25,970 for a unit. We told you it was not cheap. It had the price of a workstation, yet none of the capabilities. The user experience was nothing to write home about, as the device was quite sluggish due to the cuts that were made in production. This served as a turnoff for many businesses, which saw the product perform badly in the market. Steve Jobs was eventually taken off the project. Apple Newton. The Apple Newton is third on our list. Before there were devices like the modern-day iPad or even Samsung's Tab or Note series, there was the Apple Newton. The device is also sometimes referred to as the Newton Message Pad. This was Apple's first attempt at developing their own handheld device, and it came with a stylus. The Apple Newton was to serve as a personal digital assistant, or PDA, and cost consumers $900 per unit. Although this was pricey even at the time, people were eager to get their hands on the device. So why did this device fail? Probably because the features it came with did not always work the way they were expected to, and the battery life was nothing to write home about. The main selling point of the device, which failed to work most of the time, was its ability to recognize the user's handwriting and translate it into text. The technology was still in its infancy at that stage. To complicate matters, Palm Incorporated was trying to get in the personal digital assistant business at a time when the Apple Newton was struggling. Their knowledge of Apple's failure when it came to the PDA was key in developing a product that was much better than the Apple Newton. The Newton could just not compete with the Palm PDA. 2 years after the Palm PDA entered the market, the Apple Newton was discontinued. Aside from low product sales, Steve Jobs was not a fan of the Newton, and he axed it on his return to the company. We can all agree, however, that we see some of its features made it to his iPhone some years later. Macintosh TV. Fourth on our list is the Macintosh TV. Yes, Apple made television in 1993, and we are not even kidding about that. Back in the day, television was one of the hotcakes in the tech industry, and Apple tried to have its share of the cake. This product was designed to serve partly as a television and partly as a computer monitor. You could call it a marriage of two worlds, only that this marriage was not one either of the couple wanted. It might sound like a good concept, but practically it was not of much use. And considering the fact that it was going to cost users $2,000, it didn't do well in the marketplace. Also, the device was unable to capture video content from the TV, and some consumers thought it would be possible to TV in a small window while they worked, which was not the case. They were disappointed. The reasons hastened the product's demise, and it was shelved a year after it was released. eWorld. Fifth on our list is eWorld. And no, we're not looking at virtual reality here. Instead, an online service that was meant to be operated by Apple with the primary function of being a closed community for Mac owners. The crazy part about this project is that it's not one from modern times. The product was launched in the year 1994. Yes, 1994! It was truly an ambitious one. The online service attracted various Mac software and hardware companies who set up virtual platforms with the aim of reaching their customers. Over 400 media companies also went on to add information products to the service. eWorld had about 90,000 subscribers in its first year and rose to an all-time high of 115,000 subscribers, at a point in time which, although might sound impressive, could not be compared to AOL's 3.5 million subscribers. Considering the fact that AOL had such a commanding lead over the industry, you'd think Apple would reduce its price a little to make it possible for them to penetrate the market. But no, the company continued to sell its services at a relatively higher price than AOL, who had more features than they did at the time. AOL had been in the business since the 1980s, originally as Playnet, hence had more experience in the field. They provided dial-up service to millions of Americans, including services such as a web portal, email, instant messaging, and eventually a web browser. These were all features that eWorld was slow in implementing. Email was not available on the launch of eWorld. The high price of eWorld, coupled with it missing out on features when compared to the competition, saw it die out within 2 years. Pippin. Sixth on the list is Pippin. The Apple Bandai Pippin was Apple's answer to Sony, Microsoft, Sega, and of course Nintendo in the gaming industry. It's no secret that gaming companies make a lot of money off their consoles, and this was true even in the early days. These companies were raking in a lot of cash, and Apple sought to capitalize on this. I mean, if they have developed home and business computers, how hard could this be? Apple soon found out that it was not so easy. Apple promised great things, with one of their main selling points being users' ability to play online with the consoles. Think of it as having Xbox One features and services in the 1990s. This was technology well ahead of its time, and the slow speeds of the internet made this an unpleasant gaming experience and a nearly impossible one for gamers. This was, however, the case for those who purchased the product, as many individuals were unwilling to purchase the console due to its price point. A staggering $600 for a gaming console back then were a big deal, and this premium price, coupled with some of the issues mentioned before, led to low sales, which eventually led to the product being discontinued. Apple was only able to sell 40,000 units before it was slashed. Apple Mouse. The hockey puck mouse is the 7th item on our list. This was essentially a USB mouse that Apple released during its early iMac era. This is one of the products where Apple might have chosen aesthetics over functionality. It was designed to match the curvaceous iMac to the frustration of the end user. Users complained heavily of moving the mouse in one direction only to see the cursor move in another. This was mostly due to the lack of tactile feedback, which was to inform users if they were holding it straight or not. It also came with a short cord, to the displeasure of users. To be honest, the Magic Mouse wasn't very user-friendly either. You have to charge it by flipping it over, and then you can't use it anymore. Is that think different? Come on, Apple, you can do better than that. G4 Cube. 8 on our list is Apple's G4 Cube. It was a small-factor personal Macintosh computer, which had a dimension of 7.7 by 7.7 by 9.8 inches, compared to the normal full-tower PCs back then, which could be 24 by 12 by 24 inches. The difference was quite significant. The G4 Cube was released in a time where tower PCs were a big deal. The device was quite powerful for its time, so much so that Apple referred to it as a supercomputer. The G4 Cube picked up many awards on its launch, but the company was only able to sell 150,000 units, which is a third of what the company was expecting. Critics were quick to talk about its high cost and limitations when it comes to upgrading. It gets more outrageous when you realize that you paid $2,299 for the G4 Cube and had to buy the monitor and other peripherals separately. Aside from the price factor, most individuals did not want to sacrifice performance for aesthetics, which became a major reason for its slow sales. The device in itself was necessary and served as a catalyst for making computers smaller. However, due to its disappointing performance in the marketplace, it was shelved in less than a year after it was introduced to the world. XServe. XServe is our 9th product on this list. XServe is Apple's version of a server computer. It is a line of rack unit computers that were introduced by Apple in 2002. It was capable of running file server, web server, and even high-performance applications using a dedicated cluster XServe. Mac OS X was facing a lot of opposition due to repeated delays at its launch. So, selling the Mac OS X as a server operating system is a strategy to get it out there. In the early stages, Apple did not expect to sell as many XServes, but it did and continued to produce them until 2011 when they were discontinued. Apple adopted a different approach when it came to XServes. They branded them as being cheaper alternatives, which might be a good thing. Individuals who got servers, however, were more interested in the equipment doing what it was bought to do and delivering the necessary performance, which is where Apple started to lose out to the competition. They preferred better services over cheaper components, which Apple was starting to fail to deliver. iPod HiFi. The 10th product is one you might have heard of, the iPod HiFi. This product was introduced in 2006 as an audio dock for the iPod. The device came at a time when Apple was dominating the digital music player market and had just introduced the highly successful iPod 5. Yes, Gen Z, there was a time when the MP3 players were a big deal. The device was mainly built to work in conjunction with the iPod, which was meant to be its selling point, but ended up having the opposite effect. The device was greatly criticized for launching without an AM or FM radio. Internet radio was not mainstream back then, and many relied on their audio stereo systems to listen to the radio, and this did not sit well with them. To make things worse, as with everything Apple, the device came at quite the hefty price, $349 to be precise, and that discouraged many individuals from purchasing. Production for the iPod HiFi was discontinued just a year after launch. iTunes Ping. Our last item on the list is the iTunes Ping. Believe it or not, there was once a time when Apple sought to integrate social media into its music player on its desktop, and it was called iTunes Ping. It was introduced in 2010, marketed as a social media network designed specifically for music. Considering the fame of Facebook back then and how quickly it was becoming a household name, it's no surprise that Apple thought it could achieve similar success. I mean, back then, Apple had more resources to pull this off than Facebook, and intended to capitalize on it. But why use iTunes? Well, Apple had about 160 million iTunes subscribers at the time, and thought it could automatically convert that into users of the iTunes Ping network. Statistically, it was a failure, as only 2 million of those subscribers jumped on board when it was launched, and the numbers dwindled from there. The platform was essentially viewed as a means to get its subscribers to buy more of its iTunes services, as it lacked basic features other social media platforms had, like the peer-to-peer socializing, that is, the ability of users to interact with each other. The failure of Ping is not one that was anticipated or one that they were ready for. Clearly, the tech giant has not always been successful, but they've always managed to bounce back from their failures. This is a lesson we can apply in our lives. Thanks for watching.